Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Kingston Historic Landmark Preservation Commission meeting. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I'm the planning director for the City of Kingston. Before we begin the meeting, I just want to make a few short announcements. If you have a cell phone, I'm just going to ask that you please put that on silent so that it doesn't interrupt the meeting. If you do have any side conversations that are not being held with the commission, we just ask that you please take them outside of the room. You can use the chambers or the other conference room, I believe is free as well tonight. If you have an emergency, we ask that you do not use the elevator, use the stairs. And if you need assistance, just ask and we'll help you. I do want to let everybody know that this meeting is being live streamed and it is being recorded. So we ask that you be respectful of that. If you do need to use a restroom, they are through the chambers. Once you get through to the other side, men's is to the left and women's to the right. So with that, I'm going to open the meeting at 6:32 and turn it over to Chairman Mark Grumblatt to introduce the other members and staff.
Good evening. I'm Mark Grunblatt. I chair Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. I'm going to ask the commission members present to introduce themselves, and we'll start with you, Roger.
Robert Connor, Commission.
Nettie Morano, Commissioner.
Kevin McAvoy, Commissioner. Eric Winchell, Commissioner.
And staff.
I'm Ethan Dickerman, Historic Preservation Administrator.
We've already met Sue, and I'd like to introduce our liaison with the City Council, Marissa Marvelli. And first order of business is the adoption of minutes of our last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Are there any amendments or clarifications that you'd like to see in the minutes as presented? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes.
So moved, Robert.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Robert?
Aye.
Nettie?
Hi.
Kevin?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Moving right along, 323 Wall Street. Hi there.
Hello.
Doing well. If you would come on up and give us a quick overview of the proposal.
Absolutely.
If you could introduce yourself for the record.
My name's Andrew Lyon. I'm principal of Lyon South Architecture Studio. We've been in front of you before for our project 360 Wall Street. That was during COVID, so we did it remotely. It's been a while since we did it. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me back.
Well, great to have you. Give us a quick overview, if you can, of what you're looking for this evening.
Our quick overview is we're modifying and raising the existing theater roof to modernize the acoustics and in space for the theater roof, the old Keating Theater. We're going to be installing a new loading door, so we can load in the goal is to load in for world-class events and world-class music ensembles. And to create a rear door portal at the back. We're going to add some small exterior lighting, and that's about it.
Okay.
If you know, we've gone through the drawings. You have the existing conditions here. I think you all know where the old Keating Theater is located. It's between Wall Street and Crown Street. It shares a parking lot with 311 Wall Street. If you can move forward to the next page, Ethan. Thank you. This is our site plan. There's really no change to the site plan. Next page, please. Please, next page. So I'll get into kind of what we're doing. We've been working closely with a structural engineer to locate columns for the interior support of the acoustic wall. Next page, please. We've had a late breaking. Next page, please. I'll just get right into it. So we had a late breaking revision that happened on Monday. So I've spoken to Ethan about it. I'm going to walk you through the revision from what we've seen today. We had inset the structural steel to sort of create a freestanding structure. The structural engineer requested us to brace the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, long drive. They're load-bearing masonry walls, but they're not unreinforced load-bearing masonry walls. So we're bracing the unreinforced masonry walls with the new steel that allows us to keep and strengthen the existing masonry walls. for the new steel that we're installing. So we pushed the steel out. If you can go to the next page, please. And you can see on the lower drawing, we've kind of reallocated the exterior sound wall so that we're being a great neighbor to everybody. We're doing high performance acoustic interior wall, creating a separate acoustic space and expanding that space. We're keeping the old, this is on the exterior, it's not talking about the exterior, but we're keeping the old proscenium. We're making sure we're enhancing the proscenium. And as you move forward to the next page, please, what this has meant is that, next page, please. So before is what we presented, below is where we end up after the structural engineer has kind of given us some revisions. Next page, please. Next page, please. So really what we've had to do is then extend our roof parapet out towards the edge of the masonry wall. We've done that so that we are really just simplifying, extending the structure up. It gives us better acoustic sound protection for the entire roof now. So we have to have a high performing acoustic roof. The existing roof had very little sound penetration, not great. And so we're trying to really increase sound protection of any neighbors outside in the work that we're doing.
So, yeah, I just asked a question. So in the original version that you submitted, you had like almost like a walk around area. So, and now you're basically limited to just the one side, like the front side of that. Does that affect maintenance or anything along those lines?
That's a great question, Susan. And if you can go to A301. That's okay. So this is the, next page, the other A301. On the right-hand side, you had what we included in our original proposal. We had a flat roof, and on the left-hand side, you can see what we've been requested to work through with the structural engineer. So by bracing those walls with the new steel, making sure they're straight, making sure we're kind of reinforcing them, we're keeping a flat roof. So we'll have access to that roof via a ladder, the same way we had access previous roof via a ladder. That roof is pushed so far back, you do not see it from Wall Street. Where that access is through an elevator bulkhead and stair bulkhead that Ethan has already reviewed that is not visible from the street. And so we've really tried to make a very simple proposal here. The finishes for this, as we've noted, are going to be a bronze metallic pre-coat kind of paint. The door finish will be the same finish. The doors are custom made because they're so large. And so we're able to match the paint finish between the doors. We've selected lighting, a 20 amp light at about 2100 lumens. It is downward facing only. It's to light the existing artwork. This is actually, if you can go down to the next page, we included, next one, please. So on the right-hand side, this is what we included in our proposal. On the left-hand side, we revised the rendering to show the relocated extension of the roof. Is it okay if I stand up?
Sure.
So in pointing at the screen, you can see we'd set this back about 2.5 feet. We were able to run it into the edge of the existing wall. Bringing it forward, we end up having a small corner at the left-hand side and making a return against that wall. There's a 6-inch height difference. The 6-inch height difference from what you're seeing here has to do with the size of the steel member that's required to span from steel column to steel column. And I think that's really the goal here. I mean, if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. We're trying to keep this in spirit of the building. We're trying to keep it in the spirit of the neighborhood. We're trying to select colors that we think work with the brick. And our goal here is to really sort of create a modern event space that can bring people into the experience and, quite frankly, attract kind of acts that I think the owner hopes to bring.
Do you when you expand the roof and it comes out over the other building, how far out, I mean,
How far out on that corner?
yeah, it comes out from the other building.
It's about 2.5 feet. So we're not going over the existing parapet wall. We're actually able to sit it on the inside face of the existing parapet wall. So we're keeping it in line with the steel we're gonna have to, as I'm sure the other architects in the room are familiar with, the New York State Energy Conservation Code is pretty onerous. The new code is even more onerous. We believe in high performance buildings. My office believes in high performance buildings. We know there's an exception in the code, so we're balancing the requirements for the sound attenuation, which does have some acoustic insulation with, managing our energy consumption of the building. We believe that's good practice here. So we're minimizing that extension as much as possible. And we're trying to get this close to the minimal thicknesses.
I've walked by that building a million times, but I don't. Where the other wall, I don't know what you stuck with this, but where the other wall is, does the building must come out.
Why don't we go to the roof plan? I think it's A104.
We should go to the Crown Street plan. You want to do it from Crown Street?
Well, no, I'm good. I should. Oh, I don't even use it.
No, it's a great question. So if you go to sheet A104, I have it here on the screen.
Right here.
Yeah, right here. So you can see it's the bottom one. We had kept it pretty much in line on the top. That's what you'd seen before.
Right.
We'd set everything in, and so he pulled it out so that we're. And so yeah, it's the lower box steps out here. We draw it as a perfect straight line. We all know it's not exactly perfect, so forgive my reality here, but we're supposed to be.
Can you just show them what the building looks like from the back so they can
Oh,
see
of
the
course.
existing?
If you look at the rear elevation, A201, and unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to update this elevation drawing, and I'd be happy to provide it. But we were able to get through the sections and the plans in the short period that we had. But on the right-hand side, what we'll be seeing is that this wall will shift and really touch a portion of that chimney. I know that there were some questions that I received regarding some of the lighting. I hope I answered those, and some of the materiality. I hope I answered that. We have examples of the material. There's a small area brick infill that you can see. That's it's labeled as number 2. It's right there. We've selected brick that is, we hope, as close to matching, and we would obviously do material tests to make sure it matches.
Can you use the brick that's gonna be taken off of the side of the building?
We will definitely use.
I mean,
We can do that.
if you're removing that material, I'm presuming it's gonna be similar. That might be the
We
material
would.
to use.
We would love to use that.
Okay.
We'll work with the team to make sure there's non-destructive demolition and save. It's a very small area, so yes, that's an easy.
Yeah, well, so obviously, yeah, that's more than you're gonna need for this, if that's what you use, but what are your intentions with that material? That is taken out to do the,
I would hope that we would save it.
okay,
And we
I
would
would
save,
hope so
yes, we
too.
would save it, and we would for any other repairs on
In
the
case it ever wants to reverse, it would be nice to have that material retained.
Yep,
Would it be retained on site, I guess, or how, I guess that,
I think we would request that it gets retained on site.
yeah,
That would make
is
sense.
that possible? I don't,
It's certainly possible. We have enough room in the cellar in the basement to do so.
okay,
I'd have to work with the ownership group. That's a very reasonable request. I'm sure we can accommodate it.
I mean, I would request that we be allowed to do like a limited harvest, because when you do the demolition, some of it's gonna break and crumble.
understand.
And so not everything to be retained, but the whole piece.
As long as, yeah, you do the demolition with the intent to try and preserve the material, and not like a wrecking ball or.
I think we would.
I think that's my request is, the material we try and preserve it.
So you would ask that it be preserved in one of the basement areas.
Yeah.
Your chambers.
There's a lot of.
Encountered that on other store buildings. So we're familiar with that. We've done that.
I see a 3 next to the window.
We
Is
are,
there a change happening there?
there is, we reviewed this at the estimable leave in. We're just repairing it. That window was broken. We're repairing it. But
Simple and easy, okay. All right. Any questions from commission members?
Excavation, you're doing any excavation?
we are going to have to do some interior excavation.
Sure.
And so it's going to be interior only, from the interior only. We'll excavate from the inside. We're going to have to do test bits. We're going to have to do some geotechnical testing.
Right,
We are working through underpinning the masonry wall where
Right.
necessary for the columns. But there will, I'm not a structural engineer, I'm just the architect, so we're working through that with our structural team, and geotech team.
You're in the lower level where you're gonna be excavating out the basement floor and digging down to create footings for this new wall that's going up, right?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Susan, but I can show you, and that way we can talk about the plan specifically. If you go up to the cellar plans, and I think they're A100. So this building has a cellar and a sub-cellar. All the way up, please. Excellent. So down, please. So this is the sub-cellar. There's a partial sub-cellar. The rest of it seems to be unexcavated. So we don't know yet how deep the foundation for the masonry wall goes.
Right.
So if you go to the next page, please. This is the basement, cellar, basement. I mean, I think technically it's a cellar. We will be doing test bits in this cellar space, and then we'll be excavating from the interior of that cellar and replacing with in-kind concrete.
I mean, I'm not a structural engineer, but when you're putting it up against the other foundation wall, and you start digging, I get a little nervous about that wall becoming compromised.
Yeah, so this is something we do all the time. We do it both here. What will happen is we'll have a supportive excavation engineer produce a set of drawings. It'll be part of our planning application. We'll show the underpinning. There will be a sequencing for that underpinning. And, we would expect there to be an engineer for this side and do that work.
All right, then we will finally have an answer to whether all the chairs are covered with concrete.
We will tell you.
So, this has been a mystery for a while.
Is that, I didn't think so. Is it possible? No.
All right.
No, but I don't-
There's the
The
floor,
stage is still
the
there.
floor in the basement is actually canted.
Right.
Yes.
So it feels like they removed the chairs and then they did tour, you can see a very thick slab.
Yes.
So at one end, you've got like 2 or 3 feet, and then it kind of slopes down. But I don't think they would pour at an, like, I don't think they would, you know what I mean?
Well, when the theater was converted into a furniture store.
Yeah.
That was the story folks heard.
Yeah.
Was that they just sort of poured the concrete right over the
Pretty
chair.
brutal the way they did it. You can actually see the bottom of the column.
Interesting.
The floor, like
Huh.
so when you look at what's currently the stage, the actual stage is underneath and you got about 5 feet. And then you can see the base of the columns, in the basement.
Oh,
So they just poured like 1 foot of concrete at like just about parking lot level.
okay.
But the real stage was below that.
Okay, so the canted was deeper than,
I didn't have a
okay.
picture on my phone, but yeah, it was,
All right.
you can see all of the bases of the columns underneath, so that's why when people made that assumption that they just kind of filled it in.
Yes, that was the apocryphal story.
Yeah.
If we find a chair, we'll let you know.
We'll take it out and.
We'll reserve that. That's great.
There's a question about when we're digging and excavating into raw earth, if there's any archaeological considerations that would need to be. Obviously, this entire area has archaeological significance and sensitivity. And we would typically, any excavation into new earth, and that's why I asked how deep you were going, if we would have to request that some kind of oversight be maintained while that excavation or those test pits are being dug?
We have, typically we do test pits at the adjacent side of the wall.
Okay.
And the test pit would go down to the bottom of the footing of the foundation of that wall. This is work that would have been completed during the time of the building. We're not disturbing soil beneath that.
Okay,
That's the test pit. When we do the excavation for the underpinning,
right.
we would be excavating soil beneath that for the underpinning.
Okay,
And at that point, I think as we work through, we're a little, this is the first step, as we know. So we're a couple steps away from
Mhm.
that, but I think at that point, it would make sense if we're
Yeah.
underpinning to a certain height, and we know that height, to be reviewing that with an archaeologist.
okay.
Is there do we have records from when I don't know how to call this, the building that was demolished that used to be in the parking lot? It was
Kingston.
bus station and even older hotel. That was, I think a part of it was colonial era, part of it wasn't, if I'm remembering the building.
There was a wood building against the warehouse, even in the nineties. I think, Mike Spotted took it down. I think that was early 1800s.
So we did some of this research with the fire maps, with Sanborn maps.
Yep.
And if you go to the very first page, what we found is there was a courtyard for a portion of it on the interior side, but you can see on the lower right-hand side that there were some buildings facing down the street. I don't have an exact date when they were built or taken down because they kind of appear and then disappear in the Sanborn maps. But it looks like, forgive me for standing again, right, we're really looking at doing work on the inside face of this wall within the footprint. Right.
I think it might be early to commit to getting an archaeologist because the studying like it's been previously disturbed pretty significantly, so would a phase 1A, when we get to that point, be sufficient to get someone out there to think, hasn't been so disturbed, it doesn't matter, because I think we need a little more guidance on what you would be asking for.
Okay. Well, I think, as Andrew was describing it, for that first exploratory work, you're not going down into raw earth. You where previous excavation has already happened. It's when you start to do that underpinning work where you're actually getting into the soil, the underlying soils, that's where the archaeology would come in. But
And I'm so glad you brought this
Yeah.
up, Susan, and this is why our initial impact, our initial goal was to bring the columns in so that we were in the
Right.
kind of soil that had been disturbed. However, it's like a trade-off that we're dealing with,
Right.
we actually want to try and do the right thing to the building, reinforce masonry walls. We know that right now we're doing a lot of work with unreinforced masonry walls in the city. There's new code coming out where the Department of Building, the existing building code is really pushing to reinforce masonry walls when you can. And so we're it's a weird moment, right? We're trying to do the right thing for the building and really reinforce some of the historic architecture because that seems to be the right thing to do. And I think to Victoria's point, we'll want to find a way to work with you on that and make sure we're not disturbing soil. I can't speak to cost, so I want to do the right thing here.
all right.
Just noticed something that says asbestos curtain. Is that a thing or?
That hasn't been there for a long time.
Okay.
You got fire.
Okay.
There's no asbestos. I don't know when it was gone, but it hasn't been there for a long time. And it's
For a meeting.
Let's move off the picture of the asbestos. Guys, any other questions I can answer for you?
Yeah, just want to go, I know Ethan had sent you a list of questions regarding the lighting, so just want to talk about the locations of the lights and the types of lights so that the commission has a sense of proposing.
Excellent. So we have a lighting designer who sits in our office, who we get to work with all the time, and these come from the recommendation of that lighting designer. They are the most minimal downlights that we can find. They come painted in the same sort of metallic brown. These are the lights that we're planning to use. We're gonna have an internal conduit feed, so there'll be no external conduit. We'll have a box at the back of the masonry wall. They'll be attached and they'll point down. If you zoom out, I think we've noted their location on the elevation. Forgive me for them being comically small, that, they are very petite in terms of that size. And they're located in those little squares above. At the moment, we're looking at 4 that will give some light to the upper level. And, that's kind of what our goal is, to light the artwork as we can and to give some sense of presence to what we think is a beautiful piece of art. We have some connections in town from our 316 Wall Street job. Our site super there knows guy who did the original mural. Apparently, that's what he said. So I was chatting with him earlier today to see when we replace the brick, if we could even have them come back and touch it up a little bit in that area.
Okay. Most of the artwork had like 3-year agreements. So is that scheduled, I don't know, is that scheduled to be replaced with something?
There's no
Or
intention
you
to
just gonna
replace it.
continue with the current? Okay. All right.
And since that was one of the first murals, I'm not
The one
sure.
in the back was,
Yeah.
that was one of the first ones.
I don't know if they had come up with a 3-year agreement at that
I
point.
think it was always 3 years. It was how to paint, but what changed was how they were applied to the masonry.
Right, I
Instead of-
remember that battle. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else? Anyone else? So this is one of the rare ones that's an unlisted speaker. Yeah, something different. So it's up to us to come up with a determination of significance. I have, you've done the short form EAF? Oh, boy. All right. Has the draft been circulated? I don't remember seeing it. All right, then, do you want me to go through each of the categories here and what we are considering?
Yeah, part 1 was posted, so that's on the website.
Okay, so that's the description of
that's-
the project.
Right.
And it clicks through some of the triggers, like we are not in a wetland, yay. The bigger questions are left to us. And the list is relatively short. There are 11 questions we are called upon to answer in a short form EAF. And the choices we have are no. And also in the same category as small impact may occur. I mean, this is not absolutely pristine, but the question is it a moderate to large impact or a small impact that may occur? So I'm going to run you through this. The first one is, will a proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? And we don't see that in this. The staff is saying no, and I would agree. Second is, will proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? In this case, not really. It's been used as a public gathering space for a long time, since I sang karaoke in there. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? And I would say clearly not. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? That's a term of art under seeker, and we're not really in one. I think the closest one is probably a quarter mile away. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? Again, not really. We're hoping for larger crowds, but they will have parking lots uptown. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? And does it fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? We've heard a description of the pains taken to comply as best as possible with energy conservation guidelines, given the fact that this so far predates when anyone was thinking of this, that I would argue no bias there. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? Same pipes as before. Public or private wastewater treatment utilities, same as before. This is the one that we think that staff has thought might have moderate to large impacts. Will it impair the character of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Now, I think you were focusing on archaeological when it went to the positive,
Right, so when you answer it with the larger impact, then you have to go to part 3, which is the next page, and we've drafted right up of explaining those.
This is an area right in the heart of our Dutch stockade. There has been some work done nearby, but we don't really know what might still be there from colonial or revolutionary times or in pre-colonial times. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? That's wetlands, water bodies, air quality, flora, fauna. Not really. It's not a change that will affect those sorts of environmental questions. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage? There's not a change in footprint here. And I think you're using the same downspouts that have been there for a very long time.
We're trying to get it.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? And honestly, we don't see that. So with the one question of possibility of archaeology, I think, let's see. Do you want me to read this out?
Yeah.
Okay. For every question that in part 2 that was answered, moderate or large impact may occur, or if there's a need to explain why a particular element of proposed action may or will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact, please complete part 3. Part 3 should, in sufficient detail, identify the impact, including any measures or design elements that have been included by the project sponsor to avoid or reduce impacts. Part 3 should also explain how the lead agency determined that the impact may or will not be significant. Each potential impact should be assessed considering its setting, probability of occurring, duration, irreversibility, geographic scope, and magnitude. Also consider the potential for short-term, long-term, and cumulative impacts. The HLPC, this is our draft language. HLPC finds proposed roof alterations, installation of a loading door on the southeast elevation and the infill of an existing portal, and installation of downward pointing wall sconces to illuminate existing murals will have no major effect on the Kingston Stockade Local, State, and National Historic District for the following reasons. First, roof. The alteration will be predominantly interior and the exposed walls will be set back from the historic structure and painted to minimize their impact on the building and streetscape. 2, loading door. That the original fabric removed for the loading door's construction should be retained and used should the need to refill the portal ever arise. That the loading door shall be painted in a compatible color as the historic facade, thereby mitigating visibility. No historic signage or features other than the wall materials will be displaced. 3, wall sconce lighting. The wall lights are minor in size, painted in a compatible color to the brick facade, and elevated such that their visibility is minimal from the public right of way during daytime. Nighttime luminosity, wattage, and light color is also capped to mitigate excessive light pollution and will be in conformance with the city code. 4, archaeology. The project includes excavation of earth in the basement for footings of the new roof structure. Because of the local, state, and national historic and cultural significance of the Stockade District, a Secretary of the Interior 36 or volume 36 of the code, the federal codes, section 61, certified archaeologist with expertise in both native and historical archaeology shall be retained to monitor the project or ensure measures are taken to mitigate project impacts to cultural materials or features. And this says, check this box if you have determined based on the information and analysis above and any supporting documentation that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. All right, so that is what we would, this is called essentially a negative declaration of significance with a star next to archaeology, with conditions that are meant to minimize the possibility of any large-scale adverse impact, including the archaeology. So I've set forth what's happening with the roof, loading door, and sconce lighting as having none, the archaeology as having a possibility of some, and we have suggested ways where that can be mitigated by engaging an archaeologist when the time comes to actually dig some footings. All right.
I'm sorry, no, someone just let me read the wording for 1 second.
Sure, you want to read through?
Oh.
It won't be there, you'll need it here.
Thanks. I just want to understand the timing and how, make sure we can comply.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's retaining an archaeologist to monitor.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets to a certain level, or
That's-
the entirety of the project, or just when we're doing the excavation?
Just the excavation.
Yes.
Yep. And
That'd
then
be the
you'll
only
work,
time we would.
are you're gonna be
So I,
are you gonna be managing the construction at the same time with the structural, or is that
I'm not a contractor, so I
Okay.
can't manage construction legally. But
okay,
we are signed on for construction administration, so
okay,
we will be
you'll
involved
be involved,
during construction with the selected contractor.
okay.
And the
Yeah,
structural
we'll work
engineers
So,
also.
and as he described, the test pit is not going into fresh dirt, so to speak. It's once it gets below
The
that level.
pinnings, right,
could,
Yeah, that if you have other findings that you want to come forward and perhaps you're seeing that the same dirt continues with the test pit, if you have additional information, come back to us. But for now, we would be looking for an archaeologist to give you a hand once you're into fresh earth.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think what we would expect to get, just maybe to clarify for everybody, from a design team's point of view, we would look for a geotechnical report. It would describe dirt in that exact test pit location. That test pit report could be shared with the board.
Mhm.
You would clearly see the status and density and kind of soil in that area, and we could determine at that time whether exactly what was needed and what kind of soil we were looking at. If the council.
I think that would be a big help if you would be willing to submit that to staff. That would be great.
We're gonna have to do that anyway for the design of the footings. So we have to produce that report. It's part of standard practice. It's really not any additional work for us. Thank you.
All right.
the only thing I would ask, just for clarification, is instead of saying to monitor the project, could we say the excavation and, that portion of the project? I just want to make it clear that they're not monitoring the roof and the elephant door
Right.
thingy.
So right, during excavation, which involves,
Undisturbed soil.
New areas of disturbance.
being undisturbed.
Yeah, I think that's the.
Undisturbed area, so.
All right,
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. I will accept that amendment. So
make a motion.
I will move that we accept the amendment
Yeah, just, well, now that it's,
and that we should accept the short environmental assessment form's determination of significance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nettie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Robert?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
I also vote yes. Thank you. This looks exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Yeah, you want me to sign, I think I have places to sign on those,
sign for
That's just the next.
just for one. Okay.
The original was the company. I know.
See the roof line.
That's not.
That's exciting. Oh, yes.
All right. Do we need to give a certificate on this?
well, we're not done.
Hold on. That was just speaker. Now? Do you want, do you have findings of fact for me? Or are we just adopting that as findings of fact?
No, you haven't.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of blanks in there.
We'll address
Yeah.
those as we go through.
All right, so I will keep my pen handy. I move that the commission find this fact that the proposed wall lighting, brick infill, loading door and roof alterations at 323 Wall Street, the former Keeney's Theater in the Kingston Stockade Local State and National Historic District, if done according to plans reviewed, discussions had, and procedures stipulated in section 40526L of Kingston zoning code, is compatible with the historic character of the district for the following reasons. Pursuant to sections L11 and 13, the commission determined the application and its supporting materials are complete for formal review, and the proposed work requires a certificate of appropriateness. The proposed work is to take place at the two-story brick commercial building with rear theater addition extending westward to Crown Street, located on the west side of Wall Street, 6 parcels south of the intersection of North Front and Wall Streets, that, quote, has been substantially altered to the point where it is impossible to determine a construction date, but that documentary evidence suggests may date from the third quarter of the 19th century. From 1871 through at least 1875, J. Townsend operated a millinery goods store at 13 Wall Street, the original number of the parcel, followed in the 1880s by George Merritt and Company dry goods, fancy goods, gents, furnishing goods, etc. Since 1921, uses of 323 Wall Street have included McBride Drug Stores, part of Newberry's, V. Carpuzzi's Confectionery, Union Furniture, Standard Furniture, and the present as of 1987. And the building also operated as Keeney's Theater for a time. Lighting, the applicant owner shall install 11 wall-mounted Envision LED ARCY line 4-inch and 6-inch architectural cylinder up and down lights to illuminate the existing O-positive murals as detailed in the elevation drawings dated.
Well, they're going to be updated correctly,
Okay.
that's,
Okay, to be submitted?
to be submitted,
Okay.
because there's still some changes that.
Yeah, when the elevation.
The fixture shall be powered by internal or external conduits.
Internal.
Painted to match the facade. The light fixtures shall be what color? You said bronze?
They're like a metallic bronze paint.
Okay. Bronze color shall be, oh my gosh, how many watts, how many lumens? Do we know?
I looked at, I think 20 watts and 2100 lumens meets the code and they're downlights, but I think.
And we're pointing only in the light color shall be white.
2700, what white, 2700 is a warm white.
Okay.
Kelvin's.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna tell
Okay. And Kelvin, like the temperature?
Sure.
All right. Infill portal, an existing portal on the Crown Street elevation shall be filled in with new color matching brick and mortar. Shall I include a note about reuse in this section?
Yes.
We might be behind.
Reusing present brick, what should I, brick from the,
Reuse, is built using brick from, area, demolition area.
okay,
It's fine, we'll know what it is, one place where it's coming from.
thank you.
That's exactly what I just wrote, Susan.
The work shall use historically sensitive proportion mortar consistent with the preservation brief number 2. Roof alteration. The applicant shall remove the existing truss-based roof structure due to internal height limitations that would prohibit the theater's ability to perform with modern artists and equipment, and shall construct internal load-bearing walls to extend the roof height vertically by 9 feet 3 3/4 inches. The new elevated flat roof and its supported
Then go
wall.
up from that 9 foot, and you mentioned that it went higher, right, because of the,
Well, I don't know if you use the internal dimension or the external dimension.
okay,
So the internal height has not changed. We
Okay.
need a certain clear height from the floor.
right,
The external height has changed by approximately 6 inches. I don't know which.
That was on one of the elevation drawings.
It could in the exterior, but while I
okay,
think you're in the ballpark plus or minus inches.
okay,
All right, I will live with that ambiguity.
okay.
By approximately.
It'll, and this is not standard, we're working the engineer to make the steel member as small as possible, so it will be within inches of what we gave you. We had this initial
Wait,
calculations.
are you, the question is how high is it extending from the current?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's about 12 feet and 6 inches, right?
No,
No.
he's talking about the top of the original peak of the original.
At the highest
Yeah,
point.
yeah, that's the data
Yeah.
that they're trying to
Okay.
use.
This is the measurement here.
Yeah, so that's from the top of the parapet.
Yeah.
And the parapet is slightly higher, so actually, we're only 6 inches above the top of the existing pitch out of the roof.
Oh, okay.
So we have kept that as our, we assume that those dimensions are sacred. So we've kept that as our sacred dimension, and only recently, because of the extension of the steel, we may have to be up to 6 inches. 6 inches would be the maximum above the top of the roof, above the highest point of the existing roof.
Right.
Okay,
So we're 9'3" from the top of the existing parapet in that location. And so I think, if you're comfortable approximately 6 inches above the existing pitch of
That's
existing
the point of the
highest point of the
existing
existing
piece.
roof would be
Yeah.
more accurate.
okay.
Thank you.
Extend roof height vertically by approximately 6 inches, that's it?
From the
Is
highest
it-
point
Of the current roof,
So when we say extend the roof height, that's the whole roof to new.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me, just logically as the words. Old roof had a peak, the new roof is entirely flat.
Ethan, why don't you go to the section, because I think that's actually the easiest way to explain this to everybody.
Things like this.
The short section. Look down. Yeah, this is perfect. So you can see. We took this height 44.9. In this drawing, we're at 44.9. We kept that as the height of this member right
Yep.
here. And this is 40 foot clear. If you go to the next drawing, please. Here, we are 45'3". We have to keep 40 foot clear for the performance. So we're approximately 6 inches. This is assuming this to be a 30 6-inch structural member will be around, it might be 38 inches, it might be 32 inches.
Reworded it to say extend the roof height vertically approximately 6 inches above the highest point of the current roof.
Yes, valid. Thank you kindly.
Forgive my specificity, I can be.
No, we appreciate it. We really do. A new elevated flat roof and its supporting walls shall be set back from the existing historic masonry walls by about how?
Well, at this point, we're
There
all,
is no setback.
there is no setback.
Right.
So then I am going to delete that section, and shall be clad in metal vertically oriented panels that are painted Atacama bronze metallic. Am I correct?
That's correct. You're within the ballpark. We could be more specific, but I think we can get that.
All right. Delete here. Loading door, the applicant and owner shall remove a portion of the southeast facing wall to install a 22-foot tall by 40-foot wide metal loading door to allow greater access into the theater facility. The door shall be constructed of vertically oriented metal panels, and it shall be acoustically rated. The door shall be painted Atacama bronze metallic to blend with the surrounding masonry. An easement shall be secured within an adjacent property parking lot to ensure legal right
You
of
have
access.
current easements, correct?
So, I mean, that's,
So very easements.
so it's all in the same ownership, so we're planning on providing that documentation for the, their license agreements at this point for the planning board.
Okay.
So
I don't know if it's accurate to say there are easements at this very moment, but they can be created and provided because they have
so I think
access
it's
to licenses.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that an easement shall be secured with the adjacent
That's fine.
property. Is that sufficient?
Yes,
Okay. To ensure legal right of access egress to and from the loading door. Archaeology based on proposed plan and elevation drawings, proposed new roof supporting walls require excavation in the basement for new footings due to stockade district's local, state, and national significance in the presence of known archaeological sites, features, and materials in the surrounding area. A professional 36 CFR 61 archaeologist shall be engaged to monitor and ensure the protection of any unearthed resources.
That's fine, because it's covered under.
It's covered in the seeker as well. All right, should cultural materials be unearthed, the applicant owner shall immediately notify the HLPC or a representative for additional review. Any future changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application are subject to further review by our commission prior to additional work start. The commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the 5th day of March 2026, our commission grant a certificate of appropriateness to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in their application to the commission. Such notice is subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion and is valid for 1 year from this date. Do I hear a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Robert?
Aye.
Nettie?
aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
I also vote yes. There. Now it's official.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being new life to an old building.
We're happy to do so.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
31 Stuyvesant Street, thank you kindly. Stay dry as best you can. You're here for 31 Stuyvesant Street. Ah,
Is this the hot seat here?
oh, choose it. Someone left a coat.
That's Robert.
Okay, so on either side. Peter?
That's right, Peter O'Hanlon.
Well, give us a quick overview of what's happening now. We've seen you here before.
Yeah. So you want me to speak?
Please. just give us a quick overview of what's happening at this point.
Well, I made a mistake, which is to take down the porch rather. I didn't, it was actually my contractor who did it without asking me, but I didn't tell him not to. So the net result is there is no porch anymore, but I didn't realize I didn't realize it was a serious boo-boo in the sense that my intention is to put it back exactly as it was. And I've done a lot of work in terms of getting pieces made to reinstate it. But I realized I shouldn't have taken it down, or it shouldn't have been taken down. But I'm here to tell you the intention is to put it back better than it was, because it was in terrible shape. So my contractor said, he made a decision without consulting with me, but it was really rotten, you know. And as I said to Ethan, I wouldn't have felt very comfortable putting some sticky tape over it because I'm going to sell it, and it wouldn't have felt very fair. But I have given it thought since, and I realized that, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of my education is that historical isn't just about making it look the way it was, but actually keeping as much of the old stuff as you can. So it's too late for much of the old stuff, but we kept the nice stuff. And we had matched, we've made other things to match where it was missing. I mean, it's kind of interesting because those pillars they're not original anyway, but they are old, and so we're keeping them. But these are the new parts. And then I did.
So who do you have doing the replica work, the woodwork?
It's a guy called Ryan. I don't know his name now. It's funny because he's a surveyor.
Okay.
Or sorry, not a surveyor. Yes, he is a surveyor. He works for a surveying company, and he was surveying another property, and I got talking to him, and he does wood turning.
Yeah.
So he just did it in his little shop, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an original piece, obviously. So the rest of it. There's a huge file.
Yeah.
No, tonight. Oh yeah, those are the new columns that I ordered in. They're matched.
Are any of the components from the old porch, were any of them salvageable, or are you basically creating all?
No, the ones that the ones in the picture that are.
Okay, so those you're salvaging, okay.
These I'm salvaging,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
So,
good.
you know, the thing is, anything with any nothing has been discarded that has any figure to it.
Okay,
You know,
good.
it's only straight bits of wood that have been discarded. And, you know. And those are the replacement pieces. And there's did you get to the drawings?
I haven't gotten to that yet, but if you'd like, I can pull that up.
Just to show, I mean, let's see. Nearly killed me, so it's like, yeah, great.
All right, we'll stream it to the world.
There we go.
This is from the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, as I said to Ethan, the drawing is not quite finished because I haven't put in the grade yet, but you can see the porch. You can see the porch going back to what it was.
The drawing doesn't include the lattice work that was present.
That's a good question because I don't like that lattice, but I don't know what to put in its place. I haven't figured out what to put in its place. So I mean, if I'm told to put in lattice, I'll put in lattice. I'm just not terribly fond of it, but I don't know what else is. Maybe it's the only thing that's really in keeping with those.
Let me pull up what was there.
I was gonna say, where is it?
What was there?
Yeah, we've seen other instances with these types of Victorians where there's a slightly different type
Yeah,
of lattice work for better.
I mean, I've done other things, but I haven't done it in a historical district. You know, I just did it. Appeal Street. You know, just did straight pieces, but it wasn't
the
just.
square, the.
I just did boards, you know, with gaps
Yeah.
instead of Christmas.
That doesn't look, obviously, that's not historic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I
But-
would be opposed, I would like, do we all have any older pictures that show what the tree?
I have yeah, we have one. Let's see what the 56 card shows.
I don't think you can see.
If it doesn't, then
Mhm.
it might be.
Yeah, that's just a brick.
Yeah,
It's not there.
you can't, no.
So yeah, and also I'm trying to, bring back the stairs to this level in the render, in the drawing and what we're gonna do, which is not what was there when I got it. Yeah.
Right, so it's mysterious.
Yeah, I haven't looked around like to see, I haven't like, even Googled Victorian. I can't even remember what you call that. There is a name for it, the underneath the porch thing.
Mhm.
No.
The skirt.
No. But
All right, so we don't have an answer on that one.
and I don't have a plan yet.
Well, I guess with the commission, I mean, you saw what's currently existing. If he wanted to choose something and could document that it's something more appropriate to the form of the home, would the commission be opposed if we approve that at staff level?
No, I think that's reasonable.
I think it actually also, what I'll probably do is quite a bit of planting in front of it. So you won't see, whatever it is, you won't see much of it.
Do little raised beds and then something up there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we would ask that when you
Well,
make your
not
decision,
that, but just.
Well, raise
Plan.
and then shrubs maybe.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
would go up.
Yeah. I mean, it's not nearly that high because the grade is sloping off. So it's, it's more, what you actually see is pretty much the top of those concrete footings, and then it slopes down more towards, you do see more towards the stairs.
right. I will entertain a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under seeker. Anyone want to so move? Thank you, Kevin. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nettie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Robert?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Eric?
Oh,
I also vote yes. All right. Moving on to the plan at hand. I move that Commission President find as fact that the proposed porch reconstruction project at 31 Stuyvesant Street in the Chestnut Street local stage historic national historic district, if done according to the plans reviewed and the discussions had and the procedures stipulated in section 405-26L of Kingston zoning code, is compatible with the historic character of the Chestnut Street landmark district for the following reasons. Pursuant to sections 405.26 L11 and 13, our commission determined that the application and its supporting materials are complete for formal review and that the proposed work requires a certificate of appropriateness. The proposed work is to take place at a 2.5-story Victorian building at the northeast corner of Livingston and Stuyvesant Street intersection that was likely built circa 1890 and was at one time owned by William Roach, the owner of a leather findings business in Rondout, as of the citation to research in 1982. The owner exceeded the permission granted on the previous authorizations and removed the existing porch due to discovery of unforeseen deterioration, which made restoration impractical. The Building Safety Division issued a stop work order and the owner applied to the HLPC for a review of the porch removal and reconstruction project and provided the commission with existing conditions and materials demonstrating a commitment to in-kind repairs. The applicant shall reconstruct the porch according to historic photographs using as much salvageable features as possible and shall supplement with reconstructed features that will match the original in design, texture, material, dimension, and location, rendering it a one-to-one match. and submit lattice work for beneath the porch to staff for review based on home design. The reconstructed porch's decking must follow the same orientation as the historic porch, regardless of the Building Safety Division's potential directive to bring the porch structure up to more modern code requirements. Should this be done, no alteration shall be seen from the public right of way. The applicant shall provide the HLPC with photographs of the reconstructed porch once completed. Criteria authorized under previous desk reviews still stand. Any future changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application are subject to further review by our commission prior to the work's start. The commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this 5th day of March 2026, our commission grant a certificate of appropriateness to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in his application to the commission. Such notice, subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion, it is valid for 1 year from this date. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Robert.
Aye.
Nettie.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
I also vote yes. If that's it,
Thank you.
thank you for bringing it and for doing what you have been able to do to salvage what was salvaged.
Thank you. I do have a question. I sent an email beginning of the week, I think, or last Friday, to planning and to the building department about the steps. The steps, the existing steps are not current code. So I don't know, nobody answered me. So I don't know which way to go.
With the steps that I said with the convenience. I think that would sufficiently cover it, but it will be more explicitly stated. But in theory, there isn't, I believe, under New York State Building Code, as an exemption for this kind of work where it would not need to be raised to current code. If that's something that you're looking to do, again, that would have to, the outward appearance of it would have to match.
I just remembered that I think when you look at the old picture,
Yes.
there's more rises. So it probably was to code and then wasn't. So I think if I put it back to code, it is actually also restoring more historically. So I think that seems to be the logical thing to do. If that's okay.
Would you have a commission vote on that or
No.
just think
Yeah.
it feels it's covers other?
It mentions the porch and code within that, so I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then with the building department. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
We just have one more, just an update.
Yeah, so
The update.
I just wanted to share with the commissioners that the River Historic Project, the National Register nominations moving forward. The latest update was that on February 13th, there was the 50% project progress meeting. At which time the project advisory committee had reviewed the draft nomination. There was some discussion with SHPO's staff on the National Register team that as the nomination currently stood, which was focusing in not just on community development, but also architecture, the district may not have an overall integrity of more than 30 to 40%. And so SHPO began discussions with the consultant of dropping the architectural designation and focusing in on the community development component to raise the overall proportion above 75%, which they felt would meet the National Park Service requirements. In short, the PAC really is not adverse to doing that. It's critical that the project be brought to completion. And so having to pivot was one of those things that we felt was necessary. And I believe by the following week, feedback was supposed to be given to the consultant. And so we should be moving forward with a final draft, close to the final draft in the near future. And something just to keep in mind, maybe mark your calendars on Tuesday, April 21st, between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. at 22 Fifth Street will be the neighborhood informational meeting in which the city's consultant will give a brief presentation on the National Register listing, the information gleaned, history of the community and what this means, benefits. SHPO staff will also be present, and there will be communications coming from SHPO staff to all the property owners in the very near future. Any questions?
23 Fifth Street is,
It's the former church down there, and of course I didn't write down the formal name of that church.
the Baptist? No.
I believe it's the Baptist. The name.
Is that the one up on the hill?
Yeah.
That's Catholic.
Baptist Catholic.
Yeah. So you can make it.
All right. Progress. This is good.
The only other thing that I think, we just wanted to say is that you're seeing in the news a lot of, facade work being done uptown. And you're seeing the interesting removal of a more recent era and facades from prior to urban renewal work coming back to life or back to daylight. And so there's been some AI generations that have been put out that are informed by the 1956 property record cards. Whenever people are reaching out to us, we're sharing specifically photos from about 56 or anywhere between 1930s and 1965, which is the commercial area's period of significance as listed in the state National Register District nomination. Because facade modifications should really be focusing in on that period, trying to bring back those features. In some cases, we're seeing on Front Street, facades really returning very much to that period. And we've seen some of that also on the lower end of Wall Street. So that's sort of what's going on that end. I'm sure there's going to be some application over the course of this year.
You know what's really cool is that you can travel around the country showing people the pictures that we've done. Is that people not near the bike plant are asking for, oh, can you do my building? What would it look like if I did something to my facade? So I think what it's going to do is it's going to raise the level of complete stuff industry. I think it's the best thing.
Yeah, it looks really different. There's a lot of different, reactions, but I think overall it's very positive. And, people are thinking about not only the buildings, but now the streetscape. Yeah, they're just thinking about all these other things and how, and in extending, this kind of rebirth beyond just Wall and North Front has been discussed. People on Fair Street and John Street, outside of the limits of the canopy structures, are getting excited about, oh, we can make this a bigger thing. So it's really taken on almost a life of its own, which is really interesting, and people are very, very engaged, which is great.
There's that, what is it? That committee, the Dave Amato.
Yeah, oh, sure, right. It's a
So
blockade,
these are,
revitalization.
yeah, he started this whole committee for people uptown and, stakeholders and stuff. And what you're getting are people that didn't want, they were screaming and kicking, and they were at the meeting, they were at the meeting I went to, and they were fine. They see it down and So I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be very good.
Has everybody seen the old London's building with the peeling facade?
Yes.
I was worried that they blew new holes in for those windows and it didn't. It's gorgeous.
That's
At least in the center.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
know,
today.
throughout the whole thing, it looks like the buildings weren't really damaged that badly.
Right. Well, and Ethan and I had a conversation with Paul Jankovitz earlier this week where he had done a proposal for a facade restoration for a property, and Ethan pulled up a 56 record card and was like, wait a minute, look at, and shared it with him and explained, we're looking for, and Paul went back to the property owner and they're very receptive and they've done some exploratory work and they're looking at exposing a stucco finish, which we don't know how intact it's gonna be, but that can be repaired and restored, and there were tiles that were embedded into the stucco, and they think that those are still existing. So it's interesting, when you, and those are the conversations that are going on with the individual property owners. That's it.
Ready?
Stay tuned. Motion to adjourn.
So
Okay.
Second, all in favor?